Good morning, Farah. How you doing today?
Good morning, nurses. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for hopping on the call today. From what I understand, we're going to be discussing some numbers in the health of the real estate market in the Oak Ridges area, which would be, I believe, in between Bayview, Young, Stouffville Road, and for just stats purposes, we're taking Sunset Road on the north side. I know that you helped some of our clients sell their townhouse there not very long ago, and they seem to be very, very happy with your service. Can you give us a little bit of a background on, firstly, how that sale went, what the strategy was, how long it took, and then I'll dive into the follow-up questions of what is the real estate market like in that particular neighborhood pre-COVID versus now? Have prices gone up, gone down? Has inventory gone up, gone down? But for starters, can you tell us about the sale, the listing that you had and you successfully sold it, despite one thing that we actually discussed where the house was on a T. So the floor is yours. I'm all ears.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity, nurses, to speak about this listing. So this, again, is the beautiful townhouse that is located in the Oak Ridges, Lake Wilcox area. This subdivision is part of the newer subdivision built by Aspen Ridge, and the homes are about 5 years old here. This particular listing was beautiful in terms of like the townhouse itself, double story, with a ravine at the back. But as you pointed out earlier in your intro, that yes, one of the key things that we noted was that it was at a T junction. Whenever we have a listing, we make sure that we have, number one, gone to visit the site, of course, spoken to the clients, making sure that, they are aware of what are the, why would somebody want to come and live in this house, and so forth. And at the same time, while we're pointing out all the good things, we are also, able to let them know, some of the disadvantages that could come up as a result of this specific listing. And so, we were ahead of the game. In this specific house, there was not a lot of work required since it was 5 years old, but they had little kids and the house had been a little worn out. And so we want to make sure that the people who are coming to view this house literally are looking at this and picturing themselves living in this without having to, say, oh, I'm going to have to paint this wall, or, maybe redo the floors here, or maybe fix this light. So it took us a week, literally, to make sure that the house was up to date. It had builder's paint at the beginning, so we decided if we were going to paint it, I suggested, to make sure we use a palette that we know would be, good for showing. And that's what we did. We got the house painted, refreshed. We decluttered the whole house. We got a stager in there to give us, pointers in terms of, how to show the house even more. But the key thing here that we did was we stood ahead in terms of the T junction, and understanding the demographics in this area, we decided to get it Feng Shui certified. So we got one of our experts in there. He gave us some key things that we needed to do to get this key Feng Shui certified. And as a result, nurses, we were able to sell this house, in literally 5 days. And it went much over asking. So it was listed at $889, and we were able to get $935 for this specific one.
Got it. Farah, just quickly, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
When you say over asking, was it over market value, or was it just over asking because we were under listed?
I would say at that time, sure, I would say it is over market value as well, but I wouldn't say too much over market value. But
considering it was on a T, right? Let's say,
yes.
Forget the fact that it's on a T. If it wasn't on a T, did it get more than the townhouses on the same side of the road backing onto the ravine that sold prior to this sale?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Fantastic. So just to summarize the listing preparation process. From what you're telling me, it took us a full week of prep, which is
Yeah.
actually not a long time considering the place got painted, cleaned, decluttered, stager went in, staged it. So from the first contact with the client saying, yes, we want to sell, to the day that the property was ready to hit the market, it took literally a week. And then we brought Master Paul Ing. Paul Ing blessed the house, made sure everything is the way it needs to be, and we went to market. And you did a fantastic job in getting our clients even above what they were expecting. What would you say was one thing that you think helped with the sale or put it above anyone else?
I think if I were to, there were a lot of things, in terms of helping, but if I were to pick the one thing, I think at the end of the day, it's all about how the house looks itself. And so in terms of making sure that it was, clean, almost brand new looking, because of course,
Turnkey.
we painted it and so forth. And the decor that was used to stage the house as well. Like that really did it. Like when people were coming to see it, it was very obvious during the open houses that they were just impressed by how it looked.
Got it. There's a saying that in real estate that is, you have about 3 seconds from when someone walks through the front door to either put them in they're sold on the house basket, or no, it's not happening. So I believe the 1 week that it took to really make this house show ready, presentation ready, turnkey, put this listing and put this particular property and our clients above everyone else. Now, moving on to the stats and how the area has been doing, because since COVID hit, it is very unfortunate. Some areas did see a little bit of a decline in sale prices, as well as most areas, if not all, saw a definite decline in sales activity. How is Oak Ridge's doing in terms of real estate health check? Like, are they doing good? How much inventory is on the market? Have prices dropped? How much have they dropped? Could you enlighten us on that, Farah, please?
So in terms of this area, there are many townhouses in this area. So it's an area where first-time home buyers are attracted to, since it is in that price range that people are looking to purchase. But at the same time, it's a beautiful area that it has a lot to offer, where you're not on Yonge Street, but you're so close to Yonge Street, where all the retailers, major shopping areas are. But you're also in this quiet neighborhood with, Lake Wilcox, literally, walking distance from you. Beautiful Oak Ridge's community there and so forth. So it's an area that a lot of people are drawn to. And so there are usually lots of transactions that are happening in this area. I have taken a look at stats just to be, fair to our viewers in terms of what's most recent. So we've looked at stats pre-COVID from January up to, I would say, March 16. That's kind of like, the COVID
lockdown. Yeah. Okay.
And what we found was that there were about 16 homes that were sold in this area. Mm-hmm. The average price was about $967,000. Mm-hmm. And the days on the market were literally like 8. And if you had to look at like the most common number of days, it was like 4. So things were literally coming on the market and selling pretty quickly.
Flying off the shelf. Got it. And Farah, just to clarify, the 16 homes that sold include townhouses, semis, as well as detached, right? Yes. Yeah. And did they go into both neighborhoods in terms of, because I know the neighborhood we're looking at has newer homes and then has some a little bit older homes, about 10 to 15 years old. Yeah. Is it factoring in that entire area?
That's right.
So 16 sales, 967, 8 days on the market, mm-hmm. Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Just even to break it down further, I did, out of the 16, 11 were actually townhouses, mm-hmm. And then the rest were detached homes. So just to answer that question.
Got it.
From post-COVID, so I took the date of, again, March 16th to current.
Mm-hmm.
They have been 11 transactions, so 11 properties that have sold,
Mm-hmm.
with the average price being 906,317.
Mm.
So, I mean, you can see that there's a slight drop there in terms of the average price. And also the other thing that popped out for me was the number of days that the properties are staying on the market. So as opposed to things flying off the shelf in 8 days, it's now 20 days as an average.
Got it.
Yeah. Although if
So
you look at, like most of them out of the the 11, I would say 12 was like kind of the medium of days on the market. So it's still not yeah.
in terms of the 11 properties that were sold during COVID after the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
How many of those were townhouses? How many of those were detached?
So 2 were detached,
Hmm.
and the rest were either townhouses or semis.
Got you. So
Yeah.
the numbers may be skewed a little
A
bit
little
just
bit.
because
Yeah.
there's less detached homes
Yeah.
compared to pre-COVID. Got it. And what about the available inventory right now in the area? Let's say I'm a buyer, I'm a first-time home buyer. My parents always lived in Oak Ridges or North Richmond Hill, let's call it. And, I got engaged, I lost my mind. I want, I want to go into looking at buying my first house. What are my options? Is there a lot of inventory? Are people still getting into multiple offers? How are things, progressing?
Right. So I think with most, first of all, there are about 11 homes that are available in this area.
Okay.
Um, Other than just one property I saw, the rest have all been listed at whatever I guess the client is looking to, like as an asking price.
Okay.
There's one, with the exception of one that is going for the multiple offer type of deal where they have like a date for when they're accepting offers. Um,
Have
in
they
this,
underlisted that one, Farah?
yes, a lot. They've underlisted it a lot. It's a detached house going for $899. Basically, they've listed it for $899.
Market value is probably about 300,000 above that.
Above that,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So again, it's like different realtors or different brokerages choose to market their products. But if I were to do this today, I would not go through that route of doing multiple offers. Only because you want to be respectful of what people are going through, and at the same time allow enough time for the property to market and stay on the market so that people are able to come and see it. We know that schools are out. People are having to look after their kids themselves, and if they are doing showings at the same time, it would be a little bit maybe harder for people to get to go and view these houses. So I personally wouldn't put it on a multiple offer and like give it a limited time. But in this case, I would say in this market especially, it is crucial, number one, in terms of making sure that your property stands out in the way, like we spoke about it earlier, in terms of how it looks. So making sure that it is ready to hit the market and only put it on the market when it's ready. And at the same time, I would say that, making sure that it is priced right, because whatever has been priced right doesn't stay on the market for too long. People understand, people are usually working with, smart realtors as well. And so the realtors will always advise their clients in terms of telling them or letting them know whether this house has been overpriced, underpriced, or has been priced well. So you want to make sure that you are pricing your property well and in all markets, but especially now, given the time.
I understand. So from what we're discussing here, I just noted down a few things, just point forms. One of the things we always say is you only list once. So if you list your property wrong the first time, you're not fully prepared, it's not presentation ready, it might hurt your chances. As far as this detached listing that we're talking about, for example, a lot of brokers, agents, realtors, and what have you will literally pick a strategy without really doing the research and digging into the market and the stats in that particular micro neighborhood, right? So what we try and do here is, if there's 11 homes listed and they're listed at market value and they've been listed for some time, I don't think it makes a lot of logical sense to go and underlist your property by $300,000, because you usually decide whether or not you want to go multiple offers based on the months of inventory, based on what's available and what the absorption rate is, right? In this case, it looks like the inventory is there, but why go list for under and get that many people, quote unquote, interested, where you know that the interest you're getting is not qualified interest, because you're listing it at $899 when it's worth over $1 million. Somebody's going to come take a look at it and then tell their agent, and let's say their realtor is not very familiar with the area, just to put it nicely, and they didn't do their research. Now you set somebody up for disappointment. And especially during COVID, I think we need to be a little bit more mindful and respectful of getting people out there. For example, even on our leases, what we're doing now is we're doing virtual tours on every single lease, so that the client could literally walk through the property prior to even booking that showing. What that tells me is this: there's one more layer being removed in between brokers and their clients. And that layer is, back then, they would need agents to show them the property. They would need agents to tell them what it is. Now, if you can virtually walk through it, you're filtering down your list from, instead of seeing 10 houses, you can now go see 2 or 3 because you've already virtually walked through them. And I feel like that's smart business, because you're minimizing contact and you're maximizing the qualified buyers at that point, or tenants. At that point, if somebody is coming to your property, you already know they've seen it, they've walked through it, they've done their math. And if you're listed, if you're priced right, then you have a much higher chance of getting a higher number than just picking the strategy of, I'm just going to do multiple offers because I want to look at offers on one day, and I'm going to underlist it when I have 4 neighbors listed on the same street and their asking price is what they would take, or they'll take a little bit lower.
Yeah. And so to your point as well, nurses, what we are finding in this market right now, I mean, it's no secret that inventory is at its low, but the buyers who are out there are not just, they're all serious buyers. So to your point, if we are taking all these steps and making sure that it's like we are doing the virtual tours or setting the property in such a way where people can actually see it in terms of their pictures and whatnot, and then decide whether they wanted to come for a showing or not. These are all serious buyers. So the more you make your, you do your pre-work, the faster your chances are of selling that property. And just to give you another example, like, so you have this one that's on multiple offer, but at the same time, there's one that I had to kind of call out, which is probably also skewing the numbers in terms of the number of days in the market. There is a property here in that same subdivision, which is like 5 years old, that has been on the market for over 100 days now.
Why would you think is that, Farah?
Because it's been overpriced. So it's been priced right now at $1,099,900.
Where did they start?
That's exactly where they've started, and they have not pretty much
dropped
brought
or
it
anything.
Yeah, or anything. And I don't know if when I look at a property which is on the market in an area where typically you have like days on the market are maybe 12, 15, and then your property is sitting on the market for 100 days, clearly
you're doing something wrong.
Clearly you're doing something wrong. And by the way, it's a beautiful property. It's
is it
just
tenanted?
No.
Oh, it's not even tenanted. Okay.
Nope. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. But I mean, that's why the industry is what it is. We compete with ourselves every single day, and every single morning you wake up, you just want to, make a better Farah. And Farah is already great, but it's you gotta take every single step, especially in this market, if you want a successful sale. And the last thing you want is to drag a client along, making them think that you know what they're doing, you know what you're doing, but at the same time, you just, picking tricks out of your hat and saying, okay, I'm going to list this way, I'm going to list it that way. So Great job on helping your clients there sell their townhouse, and I believe you moved them into they upsized into a nicer home. I'm sure
Yeah.
they're extremely happy right now. To conclude things a little bit, if you were a seller in that neighborhood right now, and you're on the fence, you don't know, do I sell, do I not sell? It's COVID times. I wanted to upsize. Upsize is the key word here. I wanted to upsize. This was my first home. I've been here for 5 6 years. It's time. I'm having my second kid. What would you do? Would you hold back and sit and watch where the market's going to go, or is it a healthy time to list? What things would you consider, Farah? You're the seller, you're thinking of selling, and you're also the broker advising that seller. What are the steps? What would you do, and why would you sell now or not sell now?
Yeah. So that's a great question, nurses. And I think, just that thought or that question drives a lot of people away or shying away from even approaching, the right people to get the advice from. So I would definitely, if I was a seller, I would definitely be talking to people, because just having these thoughts in your own mind and kind of answering themselves is not helpful. So definitely reach out.
So validate your thoughts by talking to a professional.
Absolutely. Validate your thoughts, talk to a professional. I would say, there's no time then better than today. Just like we didn't know about COVID hitting the market, we don't know what's next as well. And so, in terms of if you're looking to upgrade at this time, given that the market is already short in supply, if this is my short answer, I would say it's a great time to sell. Because if your property is ready in terms of showing, like, if it's a great property and if we can showcase it the way it needs to be showcased, as well as if it's priced right, I think you can sell the property very easily. And you can also get into upgrading, because a lot of people right now are not looking to buy the expensive properties. So we have an influx in terms of the number of nicer, bigger homes that are sitting on the market for a longer time, where you actually have some power to negotiate and get the best deal possible. So best time to upgrade right now, I would say. But definitely call Big City Realty before you do that.
Got you. So essentially, it's because you're selling an entry level property where there's more buyers for it, where there's more people that can afford that, and then you're going into, let's say you're selling for 850, and then you're going into a property that is listed, for example, because anything above $1 million nowadays is a little bit slower than anything below $1 million in general, especially in the suburban markets. And also because if you're a first-time home buyer and buying with less than 20% down, above $1 million, kind of CMHC has way too many limitations where it'll stop people from being able to purchase a property that's over $1 million. So if you're selling for under $1 million and buying something for just over $1 million, from what I understand, you're getting a better deal on the property, on the upsized property, because there's not as many buyers, because the buyer pool for that is not as large.
Yeah.
So you sell for, so I believe the entry level properties, especially in these markets, haven't really taken a hit, but definitely properties that are over $1 million, $1.5 million, there's haircuts to be had. Just
Absolutely.
recently, we did one where we offered 1.5 on a 2-1 listing. We're not gonna continue and say where that went, but they did drop the price by $300,000.
Yeah.
So there's definitely deals to be had. You just have to have the right representation, the right professional by your side, and they have to be able to spot deals. Farah, what's your last words? What would you say to our viewers that own in Oak Ridges?
Well, I would say if you're one of those sellers who's thinking of, whether this is the right time to sell, or you're having those kind of questions that you're asking, definitely pick up the phone and call us. At the same time, if you are a person who is looking to, come and live in an area where, the homes are affordable, but at the same time, it's a beautiful area, where you can start, your young family, definitely call me as well, because we can definitely make this happen for you guys.
Sounds good, Farah. I thank you very much for your time today. I'm going to let you go and help some people make some important decisions in their life. I
Yes.
appreciate you.